I'm greeting you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
كيف حالك؟
وعليكم السلام.
وعليكم
وعليكم السلام.
No, go now. Go.
وعليكم السلام وعليكم السلام. Maulana can allow him to take maybe the first part of the class.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
What you gonna do here?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, now, please. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. This is the thing about teaching online. You must get him behind a closed door. The door is open. That is. Let's see. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم وجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I make to that everyone's well. You had a good week. Alhamdulillah. Everybody was in greeting when the light was here. Oh,
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام.
وعليكم السلام
وعليكم
ورحمة الله
السلام ورحمة
وبركاته.
الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام. Okay, let's get into our what we were busy with. So we were busy with Mankasar al-Asnam. We finished page number 37 and we started on page number, no, we were busy with page number 37. That was, you guys started doing that in the groups, right? And then I had to do the rest for homework, if I remember correctly. So what we'll do is, as we usually do, read this one, check if there's any questions, and then move on. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Baytul Maqdisi. Baytul Maqdisi. What does that mean? Baytul Maqdis.
I wanted to, Mulan, I looked in the dictionary. Maqdis is just referred to as Jerusalem. So yeah, I was.
So Baytul Maqdis will refer to, like, I mean, literally it will mean the house of Jerusalem, but Baytul Maqdis also, just the word together, Baytul Maqdis, can refer to the place of Masjid al-Aqsa.
Sanctity. Sacredness, a place of sacredness.
Why you wouldn't translate it as a Mawsuf Sifa construction here is because, can you see the Bayt is a light word, no al, no tanween, and al-Maqdisi is in jar, so it's a mudafun ilayhi construction. Therefore, you will understand it as the house of something. Now that something can't be an adjective, so you have to understand it as a noun, and therefore we'll understand al-Maqdis as place. And in fact, yeah, that's in general why we'll understand this word Baytul Maqdis as Jerusalem, or like the place of Masjid al-Aqsa. So, okay, let's see the chapter. وكان لإبراهيم زوجة أخرى اسمها سارة. إبراهيم okay, let me say this. وكان لإبراهيم زوجة أخرى اسمها سارة. Ibrahim had another wife. Her name was Sarah. وكان لإبراهيم ولد آخر من سارة اسمه إسحاق. And Bismillah.
Are you translating the kana and the li, and then together that makes add?
Yes.
Okay, because it's usually was and li is like two, but I do get it sort of why you're making it add.
If I want to say you have a pen, for example, right? I want to say you have a pen. I will say لك قلم. لك قلم. You have a pen. The lamb, right, has a number of meanings. We translate it, yeah, we translate it like as, sometimes we translate the li as two, sometimes we translate it as four. In Arabic, we actually call it lamut tamlik. Lamut tamlik. Just if you listen to that word tamlik, what do you think the root letters of the word are?
Malaka.
Mim, lam, kaf. Correct. What do you know from the malik?
Owner.
Owner, right? So it's the lam that shows ownership, and that's why, yeah. So it's the lam that shows ownership. That's why when I say li Ibrahim, I can't understand it as Ibrahim owns, Ibrahim has. Just because of the kana makes it past. So instead of saying has, I'm saying had. So do you see now how we get there?
It does make sense, yes, one.
Good. So وكان لإبراهيم, and Ibrahim had زوجة أخرى, أي another wife. اسمها Sarah, her name was Sarah. In fact, Sarah was the first wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Sarah gifted Hajar to Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's a story, we'll get there in due time. وكان لإبراهيم ولد آخر من سارة. Ibrahim had another son from Sarah. اسمه إسحاق. His name was إسحاق. وسكن إبراهيم في الشام وسكن إسحاق. Ibrahim lived in Sham. Sham is what? Sham is Greater Syria, if you want. Greater Syria or the Levant. So, I mean, today if I speak about Sham, أذهب إلى شام, then it means I'm going to Syria. But of old, Asham would refer to the Greater Levant, which included, or the Levant to the Greater Syria, which would include Syria, Jordan, I think, Palestine, and I think Lebanon, somewhere there. My geography is not the greatest in the world, but yeah, I think that's the that would be the Levant. Let me just check something. Yeah, that's exactly it. Palestine, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. That area was referred to as Asham. So Ibrahim alayhi salam lived in that region, right? وكان لإبراهيم ولد آخر من سارة اسمه إسحاق وسكن إبراهيم في الشام وسكن إسحاق. And the second part literally means وسكن إسحاق, and Ishaq lived. But it means Ishaq also lived in Sham. So that Fishami is implied there because this part of the sentence is added. It's just giving you a mode of expression. وسكن إبراهيم في الشام وسكن إسحاق. And Ibrahim lived in Greater Syria and Ishaq lived there. وبارك الله في ذرية إسحاق كما بارك في أولاد إسماعيل. How are you going to translate this now? I'm very interested to see.
Mahmoud, I wasn't following. Was it line 4?
Line 4, yes.
Is it the dua?
You could translate it as dua, but here it just seems, because of the context of informing, that it's not actually dua. Rather, the author is telling us that Allah blessed the progeny of Ishaq just as he blessed the children of Ismail.
Okay, so I took from previous weeks to make it the dua this time.
Yeah. So how do you distinguish? Like, how do you differentiate? You just have to, in that case, you just have to see what makes sense. This is one of those points in which you would have to interpret. You would have to interpret. The statement can mean two, the exact same statement can mean two distinct things, but you have to just choose an interpretation. So I went with the interpretation just naturally, that they're informing us that Ibrahim, Allah blessed his progeny as Allah blessed the progeny of Ismail. But I wouldn't say, as a student of Arabic, if you translated it as a dua, I would say good and well. That shows me that you understand the structure. What I'm adding to that is that you have to make that interpretation call. I'll never be able to say you right, or I'll never be able to say you wrong and I'm right, and you'll never be able to say I'm right or you'll never be able to say you right and I'm wrong. Because it's simply the text allows for both, and it's both plausible interpretations. Right? وكان فيهم أنبياء وملوك وكان فيهم أنبياء وملوك. There was literally in them, but we translate the fi as amongst. There was amongst them Anbiya, prophets, wa mulukun, and kings. Amongst who is the them referring to? ذرية إسحاق, the progeny of Ishaq. وكان لإسحاق ولد اسمه يعقوب وكان نبيا. Ishaq had a son, اسمه يعقوب, whose name was Yaqub, or his name was Yaqub, Jacob. وكان نبيا, and he was a prophet. وكان يعقوب له 12 ولدا. Yaqub had 12 sons. منهم يوسف بن يعقوب. From them was Yusuf, the son of Yaqub, or Joseph, the son of Jacob. ويوسف له قصة عجيبة في القرآن وإليك هذه القصة. Yusuf had an amazing story in the Quran. وإليك هذه القصة, and to you is this story, or here is the story for you. That is actually brings us to the end of Man Kasara al-Asnam. That brings us to the end of Man Kasara al-Asnam. إليك, when I just before we go there, when I say إليك هذه القصة, that's an expression. When I want to present something to somebody, then I will say إليك هذا. This is for you. Yeah, I'm presenting it to you. It's an expression in Arabic. So what do you do with that kind of thing? Literally, إليك means to you is this story. What does that mean? It means, yeah, I'm presenting you the story, or the story follows. Why do we have that here? Because Man Kasara al-Asnam, the story Man Kasara al-Asnam, is part of a book, or is taken from a book. It's adapted here, but it's taken from a book called قصص النبيين للأطفال, stories of the prophets for children. Man Kasal Asnam is the first story, and the story that comes after it is the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. You can actually buy the book at where did I buy that book? You can buy the book at the Noor Center in Gatesville. You can buy the book at the Noor Center in Gatesville. Qasasun Nabiyyina lil Atfal. I think it was by Sheikh Abul Hassan Ali al-Nadwi. If you want, why would I say that? If you want to have, you can also get a PDF online. I can probably send it to you. If you want to have more of these stories that you can read that gradually engage you more and more in your Arabic, right? So you can get a whole book full of these stories. Learn the story, read the story, tell it to your children, whatever the case may be. But this is the end of Man Kasala Asnam. So tell me, before we do something in our breakaway groups, are there any questions?
Mahmoud, what is who's the author again of the book?
Sheikh Abul Hassan Ali al-Nadwi.
Okay,
So I type it here in the comments. I can probably send you a PDF of it. When you guys in the breakaway groups, then I'll send the PDF. I'll get the PDF to send you. Yeah. So what I want you to do now is, if there's no questions, what I want you to do in the breakaway groups is, look, we read the story. Our objective in reading the story was not to memorize the story. Our objective in reading the story was to learn. I told you to build 4 faculties regarding the Arabic language, right? The ability to hear and understand, the ability to speak or articulate, the ability to, not so much really the ability to write. So it was speaking or articulating, understanding, reading, and writing, but not so much here. The objective was to familiarize yourselves with vocabularies and also just the style of the language. Not technically like we do in Nahu and Sarf. Yes, we did have questions and engage with certain things like that, but that's more what we want you to know is, when I come across a sentence that says وَكَانَ لِأَحْمَدَ سَيَّارَةٌ, I want that sentence to sound familiar to you. Ahmed had a car. Without much thought, right? Just because you're already familiar with how certain things are put in the Arabic language. And that's so that we can build up an appreciation for the language more than just a theoretical understanding. Right? So what I want you to do in your breakaway groups now is this. We have 16 chapters here that we did. We have 16 chapters over these 37 pages. So I want you to go into your breakaway groups, right? Then I want each person in the breakaway group to select, each person must select any chapter. You can flip to whatever page you want in your book and just read to your group 3 sentences and tell them what it means. Try and tell them what it means without looking at your translation. If you need to, then you can look at your translation, but try not to. So what must you do? Flip to any chapter in the book, any section in the book, read 3 lines, just 3 lines, read it and explain to your group what it means, and then you can help each other and question each other like that.
Marv,
yes.
at the back on page 44, from there to the end is there are all the lessons that we did without any written stuff on English. So it's just Arabic.
Yes. Brilliant.
I just want to inform everybody. Yeah, at the back, yes. Page 44 onwards, yes. To the back.
Yeah, it's on the screen now. Section 3, page number 44. You can actually go read from there. I think it will be better. Right? So you pick any 3 lines, you read it to your group, and then explain to them what it means. You can help each other and check each other like that, right? And then, okay, let's do that first. When we come back, then I'll mention something else. Right? So if you can have our groups open. So it's essentially a reading practice.
Salam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Now, what would you say is a good way to memorize some of these vocabulary, the words at the back? Is it? I don't find it easy to memorize tables. Just look at the tables and memorize. That's a bit hard.
What I would there's a number of strategies to memorize vocabularies. One that was recommended by some of my teachers to me. I never actually did this one, but I think it will benefit a lot of people. Is to maintain a vocabulary book where you have a little pocket book or whatever the case may be. When you come across new words, you just write it in there, and from time to time flip through your little vocabulary book. That's one way. What I found personally to help was whenever coming across a word, reading that word from its root letters in the dictionary, like going through all the images attached to the word or whatever. And that helped me not just with vocabulary, gaining an appreciation for some Arabic words. That's another one. And then the other thing would actually just be to read Arabic, to just not stop reading Arabic. So like for example, that's why I suggested me getting a copy of Qasasun Nabiyyin al-Atfal too, so that you can actually just continue reading more and more Arabic. And how that helps is that you come across the words with greater frequency, and in coming across the words with greater frequency, they just stick in your memory. And that's actually a more natural way of learning a language. That's how we learned language when we were children. We learned English by hearing people use English in different contexts and by them doing it repeatedly. So that's another way as well. And as a start for that, for example, one could just constantly even read the same story, like in Muhammad, just constantly read the same story without any English translation or anything like that. Just read it, try and have now not just a broken translation, but have an understanding, even if that's slightly broken or you find difficulty or whatever the case may be. That repetition will help you. Obviously, that's like a harder route, because repetition takes time and effort. But I think that way really makes it stick.
I would say, Malina, from this repetition throughout this 30 or 40 pages, the smaller words became familiar with me, like the filler words, like kana, the was, but like the bigger, like the nouns that we only saw once or twice, I don't remember those.
Yeah. So those again, I think, just reading the story, reading the whole story, that will be important to you actually getting those words. And sometimes also, a combination approach, like a mixed approach to it. So the smaller words I know because of repetition via, just via just seeing them all the time in usage. And then for other words, other vocabularies, like even in the Quran, there's vocabularies that you're going to find very, very infrequently in the Quran. And then there's words that you're going to find the Quran replete with. Qala, many such words you're going to find it everywhere in the Quran. And then there's other words that you're going to come across very, very rarely. So how do you maintain that understanding? I would say that let it be a multifaceted approach. in relation to those infrequent words, you actually just learn them, write them down, learn them. As for the others, you suffice with just coming across them and almost like just ensuring that you have some kind of understanding of it. That's yeah, I think that can work. So you read Arabic, the words that you don't need to check up, you don't check up. The words that you need to check up, you check up, and then you make a concerted effort to learn that word. But otherwise, you know, if you think you have an understanding of the word, then just don't check it up. I'm going to send something in the chat. I'm going to send this PDF in the chat. Let me see. How do I open up this chat again? Oh, just 1 second. Okay. Can you see this book that I've opened here? I just sent that now in the chat group. So here we have Mankasar al-Asnam, but this is Mankasar al-Asnam in its original form. Mullah Khalil's edited it somewhat. This is it in its original form. You can see it has all the harakat on it and stuff like that. It doesn't have your vocabulary list there. But you will see, okay, let me just see how far it goes. Chapter 16. And then we have on page number 30, the next story starts. أحسن القصص. See, the previous story ends. ويوسف له قصة عجيبة في القرآن وإليك هذه القصة. And then أحسن القصص وأحسن القصص رؤيا عجيبة. كان يوسف ولدا صغيرا وكان له 11 أخا, etc., etc., and it carries on. So in this book, there's a whole lot of stories of prophets here. A lot. So you can practice your Arabic by reading these stories. First, I would say, what's a good method? What's a good method? So I'm not sending you this because we're going to go through it like we did with Mankas al-Asnam in class. No. Right? I'm actually going to check with Mullah Khalil what's our plans going forward. Right? Why I'm sending it to you is so that you have it as a resource. In your own time, you can pick up the book and read it. As an advice, what would be a good way of going about using the book? What I would advise you is to pick up the book, even with Ahsan al-Qasas. Read the story. Just read the words. Maybe take a page, read the story, read the page. Whether you understand half of it, or you understand 10% of it, or you understand nothing of it, just read it. Right? Let the words come out of your mouth correctly. Then read it again. Right? Read the page again. But now try and piece together an understanding of it. Thereafter, read it again. And or you can do it a different way. You just read it. Second time, you read it, but you also check up words that you don't understand. Then the third time, you don't have to write in stuff or whatever. Just check up those words. The third time, read it again. Now try and have a complete understanding of that page. Right?
Mulana, just in that now, and you think going back to the dictionary, how will we sometimes be able to identify root letters that are not apparent in the word? Like Mulana Khalil gave us the one now, but that was what Quran Hive. It goes to Quran Hive, and you could see the root letters when you're looking up the meaning. Is there a way to be able to? Is there maybe a structure that you need to look for to determine what are the root letters?
Yes.
If they're not apparent.
What do you mean if they're not apparent?
Like there was a word, I can't remember the word early on. but it didn't look like that. I think it was Ain Wow Nun, but the word I'll have to go back.
Nasta'in.
Nasta'in, yes.
Okay. Let's just see. Now, okay. This word nasta'in. Once you learn a little bit more sarf, it's going to become very easy to see this. I know it doesn't look correct, but إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. That's the word, right? It doesn't look very correct. But now I can immediately tell you the root letters are that ain, that nune, and then ya is a weak letter. Either wow or ya. I know it's a wow because I know the word. The reason I know it's not that, it's not that, it's not that is simply because I know some sort of, I know different verb forms. Now, yeah, that is on us. We have to teach you some more sarf, and we're going to do that in due time, inshallah, right? Either, I don't know, maybe you will suggest that I start with that immediately, or maybe we'll start with it at the beginning of next year, Allahu A'lam. But that will become very, very easy. So yes, there is a way to identify the root letters. There is a way to identify the root letters. I can give you a bit of a hack that you can use in the meantime. It's not going to work solidly, but it's more often than not, if not like 90% of the time, it will work. So in Nahu, right? You guys learned the different types of kalimat, correct? Ism, fi'al, and harf. Then after that, you learn certain qualities of that ism. You looked at the ism and you said, okay, we're going to look at, what did you look at? You looked at gender. You looked at, I think the order that you would have done it in was gender, and then you did definiteness, and then you did hal, and then you did number, and then you combined some of them. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then after that, before you moved on to actually doing sentences, you looked at the root letters of nouns, correct? Where you said either, okay, if there is a hamza or a meme at the beginning of a word, you omit that. Or if there is a alif, waw, or ya in the middle of a word, you omit that. Or if there is a una, ina, aini, ani, atun, ta marbuta, alif mamduda, alif maqsura at the end of the word, you omit that. What you left with then is your root letters. Did you do that?
That's not familiar, Malana.
Very, very briefly, Maulana, like very briefly.
Okay, let me just pull up something quickly. I'm trying to figure out now what page. Where is it now? This is your Mizan textbook, right? So I want you to go to, or when you have time, revise this page, page number 12 in your Nahu textbook. A study of the ism, root letters, and extra letters. Just one page that we have here. This will give you a simple way of how to deal with nouns, right? Nasta'in is a verb. Now I'm going to give you a little hack to work with verbs. So just before we move on to that, to find the root letters of words so that you can find the word in the dictionary. You look at the kalima, you identify extra letters. You don't identify root letters, you identify extra letters, you omit the extra letters, and what you're left with is your root letters. So here in the book we have, it says here alif and mim. That's a mistake in the book, right? What you should have there is a hamza. So it must look like this. It must look like that. Sometimes also if you have one of these two at the beginning of a word, you can omit it. Or meme at the beginning. For example, if I give you the word masjid, what's the root letters of masjid? You see, there's a meme at the beginning, so omit that. I'm left with sin, jim, dal. Those are my root letters. You guys following?
Yes, Maulana.
Right, so just revise this page. It's going to give you a basic thing for nouns. If you have a hamza or meme at the beginning of the word, omit it. If you have a alif, yeah, wow in the middle of a word, omit it. And here's some examples. See, there's a wow in the middle of a word, I'm going to omit that. I have a meme at the beginning of the word, I'm going to omit it. I'm left with kataba. I have the word kitabun. I have a alif in the middle of the word, omit that. I'm left with kataba. I have the word maktabatun. I have a ta marbuta at the end of the word, I omit that. I'm left. I have a meme at the beginning of the word, omit that. I'm left with kataba. Kitabun, alif in the middle of the word, or katibun, alif in the middle of the word, left with kataba. So now I have the root letters, and that will work pretty well for nouns. Not so necessarily for verbs. Now, what I'm going to tell you now is a hack. It's not a solid rule. It's not how you would generally find the root letters for sarf. Why I'm telling you this is because we haven't covered the sarf syllabus completely, right? We're going to learn more sarf. And as you learn more sarf, it's going to be easy to identify the root letters. Just as it is when you have a verb on the form of fa'ala or yaf'alu or fu'ila or yuf'alu or lam yaf'al or lan yaf'ala. It's easy to identify the root letters there because I just identify the scale. I remove the scale letters and I see, where the fa, ain, and lam are, and those I know identify as my root letters. So I'm going to tell you, how can you do this for words that are verbs? How can I do this for verbs, basically? I'm going to say, what are the things that we add to the ends of verbs? What we add to the end of verbs is usually there can be a una, there can be a ani, there can be a ina, but okay, yeah, there can be, or rather, right? Let me rather do it more systematically for you. How do our scales sound? Fa'ala, there's nothing attached to the end. Fa'alu, so u at the end, u can be added extra. Then we have fa'alat, ta with the sukoon at the end, can be added by the scale. Then we have fa'alna, noon with a fatha at the end, that can be extra. Then we have taf'alu, fa'alta, فعلت, a ta at the end. فعلتم, فعلتي, the t at the end. فعلتن, the tunna. And then we have فعلت, tu, and na. So what I'll advise that you do is, the first thing that you do is see if you have any of those things at the end of the word. Once you identify that the word is a verb, then you do that. Remove whatever those things are at the end of the word. So it's either going to be a u, or a ta with a sukoon, or a noon with a fatha, fa'alna, or a ta, or a ti, or a tum, or a tunna, or a tu, or a na. Remove that. Then you look at the letters just before that. So now you're going to do it in the reverse. You're going to do it in the reverse. You take the 3 letters just before that. And you take the 3 letters just before that. And those will likely be your root letters. If the first of your 3 letters, is a ta, right? If the first of your 3 letters is a ta, then omit that ta and look at the letter before that. I'm going to give you an example now. What's the root letters of this word? Istama'a. So first tell me, is this a noun or a verb? I don't expect you to have a solid idea. Just a guess, a calculated guess.
A verb.
Good.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, that's a verb. Good. Okay. So what you're going to do now? You're not going to do the meme alif, or the meme hamza, alif ya wow, and the una, ani, atun, tini. That's for nouns. What you're going to do here? What I just told you now. Step number 1. See if there's anything attached at the end. Any of the doers attached at the end. Is there any do attached at the end of this one here? Any u, or ta, ti, tum,
No.
tu? No. Right. Okay. So I'm not going to remove anything from them. Second thing, I take the first 3 letters from the end. So what do I have? I have a ayn, I have a meme, and I have a ta. But I said if the first of the letters is a ta, then cancel that one. And look at the one before that. So I have a sin there. So what do you think the root letters of this word is?
Samia.
Sim,
Samia.
mim, ein.
That's correct, 100%. So this word is, the root of this word is sin, mim, ayn. I'll give you another one. This is like the scale with the most additions. That's a rather than istansara. Oh, wait, I'm going to take this word here. Istansaru. Istansaru. What do you think the root letters of that word is? So first thing you do is you remove the do at the end. Is there a do at the end here?
Yes.
Yes, there's a u. Right, so okay, I remove that u. What's the next thing? Take the 3 letters from the end. What are those letters? Ra, Sad, Noon.
Nasoro.
Is the first of my letters a ta?
No.
No, so I don't have to do anything else. So my root letters are noon, sa, ra. That's my root letters. Let's do the same for this word nasta'in. See what would have worked over here. This word is even more involved because there's a weak letter in it. Right. What do I know? What do I do firstly? Remove the dua at the end. Is there a dua at the end here? Does it look like it?
No.
No. That's good. You may think, oh, there's an inu, but you'll see on none of our skills we add an inu.
Ina.
Just listen. Fa'alu or fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat, fa'alna, fa'alta, fa'altum, fa'alti, fa'altunna, fa'altu, fa'alna. No, nothing like that. Even if you go to the present tense scale, yaf'alu, yaf'aluna, una, taf'alu, yaf'alna, na, no, nu. تفعل تفعلون una تفعلين. There's an in, but it's an in. And also that one must start with a ta. تفعلين. And then we have تفعلنا, so na, and أفعل and نفعل. So there's nothing to remove from the end. Then I've taken the three letters before that. Three letters from the end. The noon, ya, and the ayn. 1, 2, 3. But now I'm going to add another rule. If one of the letters are a weak letter, like you see the ya is a weak letter, then just know it can be either a wow or a ya. So it's a ya, but ya can be wow or ya. So what's my root letters of this word here? Ain,
Either ya, wow, and noon.
ain. The next one is going to be either a wow or ya. And the last one is going to be noon.
Mulana, which ones are the weak letters? It's ya,
Alif,
alif.
wow, and ya.
Okay, so those are the three weak letters. So then
Not
if you
Hamza,
did it,
not
just
Hamza.
Hamza. So it's the only
Not
ones that
Ham-
prolongs the
Yes.
vowel. And
Yes,
then you
just
so
the
if you
beginning sound.
then you replace it with one of the other two.
Yeah. If it's a alif, wow, or ya, it can the root letter, the weak letter will either be a ya or a wow.
Okay. Shukran.
So if I have one, so the root letters here. Now you're not 100% sure now. Is it ayin ya noon, ayin wow noon? But it's only two options that you have over there. It's easy to go check in your dictionary. It's easy to go check in your dictionary, and then you will find that it is ayin, wow, and noon. So now you can try that. I don't know. Maybe this will always work. But I literally just made it up now, so I'm not sure. I don't want to like make it a rule because I literally, like I said, I just made it up right now. But I think it will work almost all the time for your verbs. So what you do? Step number 1, remove the do at the end. Step number 2, take the last 3 letters from the end. If the first one of those letters is a ta, then take the letter before that. Like you see, here we did have a ta, but we already took out 3 letters, so I'm not counting that ta there. And that's why, because the ta is not the first of my 3 letters, I'm not going to go to the letter before the ta. Because my 3 letters are noon, sad, nara. In this one over here, the ta is my first letter. That's why I take the letter before it. Right? I'm just going to do one more example. Just give me a second, please.
Ryan, you want to have a piece of toast? So we're going to wait for lunch.
Okay, just one more example. I give you this word. أعلم. Now, okay, you may think this one is very easy, but this is not a verb. I mean, sorry, this is not a noun, it's a verb actually. It doesn't have a al, not, and we, nothing like that. It is actually a verb, right? How are you going to do this? Remove, or I mean, make it a bit more difficult. أعلمنا. أعلمنا. So remove the do at the end. So I'm going to remove the noon. Take my 3 letters from the end, the meme, the lam, and the ain. 1, 2, 3. What's my root letters of this word?
Alamim.
Halima. That's exactly my root letters. I don't even bother with the other letters around. You see here in this word here, I still had that alif over there, or that Hamzatul wasl. I had that over there, that ta over there. I don't bother with that. Here in this word, I have a noon, a sin, a ta. I don't bother with any of those words. In this word, I also had a hamza, a sin, a ta. I don't bother with any of those. Just do that. Remove the do at the end, 3 letters before that. If the first one is a ta, then take the letter before that. And then also we said if one of those 3 letters is a weak letter, just replace it with a wow or a yeah. Check out both, and that will help you for now, inshallah.
Shukran,
So
Maulana.
that,
You can copyright this rule now.
That took a bit longer than I wanted to, because I wanted to actually get to the Quran. But but it is important. Right? It's important not just for our immediate benefit in this class, but it's gonna help you to actually take that book that I said, or any other book for that matter, any other easy Arabic book. Take the book, read it on your own, and find the words in the dictionary. Right? If you can find words in the dictionary, then you've lost one of your crutches. You don't have to have a vocabulary list from us, which I think actually to some degree hampers your ability to retain the words. Why? Because you attain the word without effort. Whatever comes without effort goes very easily. That's what I experience in life. And so when you actually take the effort to go find that word in the dictionary, identify the root letters, find the word in the dictionary, it gives you a better understanding of the word. And I think just because you engage in a whole process with that word, it just sticks more easily. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us now. Okay. Our time is actually already up. Our time is already up. We'll continue with Surah Al-Alaq next week, inshallah. Right? We'll pick up where we left off. We're going to finish Surah Al-Alaq bi'idhnillah ta'ala next week, and then start with Surah Al-Qadr. Are there any questions before we either on something related to the surah or even related to what we just spoke about before this?
Maulana,
Yes?
if the middle letter is an alif, does it also become a ya or wow?
Yes.
Does it also then you just look for a ya or wow in the dictionary?
Yes.
Okay, shukran.
You see, I'm going to explain to you something about those verbs. Right? When you have a alif, a ya, or a wow in the verb, that's just a pulling sound. Right? So that sound there is one of the weak letters changed to that sound because of the haraka that comes before it. Let me give you an example. Okay, I took all those words off at the beginning now, But if I look at the word nasta'in, nasta'inu, there's a ya. Why is that ya there? The ya is simply because there's a kasra before it. If I take another word, aqama. If I look at the last three letters, a meme, alif, and a qaf. This alif here, we're going to change to either a wow or a ya when we look for it, right? I actually know in this case it's going to be a wow, simply because I know the root. But why is there alif there? That's what I wanted to show you. The alif is here simply because there's a fatha before it. The pulling sound that goes with the fatha is a alif. The pulling sound that goes with the kasra is a ya. The pulling sound that goes with the pulling sound that goes with a dhamma is a wow. I'll give you an example. The word yakhunu. Yakhunu. These my letters, my last three, right? 1, 2, 3. I said we have a wow there. It's either going to be a wow or a ya. Why do I have a wow there? Simply because there's a dhamma before it. So do you see how those weak letters, they're like malleable, they change depending on the haraka that comes before them. Otherwise, we'd have to say something like yasta'winu. Yes, or yasta'ayunu, which is very difficult to say. Yasta'ayunu. So instead of saying yasta'ayunu, we just say yasta'inu. So which weak letter we have present in the verb depends on the haraka that comes before it. But usually that thing is simply there in the place of a wow or a ya. Like here again, these are my last three letters. I know this one is either going to be a wow or ya. Just check out both in the dictionary. Whether it's a alif, wow, or ya. Right? Any other questions?
Maulana, this is just coming from the story now. I'm from Man Kaslo Asnam. So if I look at the names Yusuf and Yaqub, if I think of what we've been exposed to, like what we've been exposed to, people will say Yusuf and Yaqub. That's how I come to know it, and I don't know how everyone else will. But now you're seeing it's actually, if you look at the way it's actually different. We don't actually know that in the community.
You see, the name isn't Yaqub. The name is Yaqub. Yaqub or Yusuf. That's just because of people pronouncing it wrong, saying the names quickly. Yeah, but it is actually slightly different than oftentimes than people pronounce.
Come on, shukran.
Okay, we're in there for now, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran, Maulana. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana.
Jazakallahu khair.
Um,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Shukran,
wabarakatuh.
Maulana.
Okay, Maulana. Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, I'm leaving now. Assalamu alaikum.